All right, good day. And on the screen with me as we get ready for the 2023 Collegiate Beach Volleyball season is head coach of the Florida State Seminoles, Brooke Niles. Thanks for joining me this morning, Brooke.
Thanks for having me. Sorry for the early wake-up call.
Oh, no way. As parents, there's no such thing as early wake-up calls now.
Very true.
So let's start off by talking about some of the things that you see coming up I have to start that over again. I'll have to edit that out. Oh gosh, I spun my script too far. Here we
That's
go.
it.
All right. Now, Brooke, what major changes have you seen in the recent years that have aided in the development and growth of collegiate beach volleyball?
Wow, that's a good question. I think for one, the extra COVID years with everybody really added to the development of the players because a lot of players, they still went through all the training as they were playing a season and started for 2.5 weeks of the season when our seasons got cut short with COVID. And then most of those players got an additional year. So you're older, you're stronger, your training age and the lifting and conditioning is higher. And so the overall play was so good. Like we had players that were playing on the world tour, playing in college, Olympians, all these things that these younger players had to train against and play against. So it just helped them develop their skills even more. And I think the growth of the junior game, Perry's doing a great job with the P1440. The AVP does an amazing job with their event, their championship in the summer. It almost feels like an AVP event. So all these young athletes are just getting better and better competition and training. And I think that's been huge for our sport. And then with the NCAA, putting a lot of time into the championships, expanding the field, making our sport more known. We're just attracting better talent to the sport of beach volleyball, which is awesome.
Well, one of the questions that spun off from one of your responses was, so you had a very talented freshman already competing on the international level, but what do you see as far as like ceiling level for her talent, particularly? And we're referring to Maddie Anderson,
Mm-hmm.
who's playing with USA, but how do you see her growing through your program?
I mean, Maddie came into school a year early. She wanted to come 2 years early. She was homeschooled. And I was like, Maddie, slow down. Like it'll all come in time. But so now with her extra COVID year, she's actually in the right year of school that she should have been when she started. But I've just seen such a change for her. One, playing with Brooke Bauer, a transfer we got at our ones last year, and just going through the ups and downs of a season and having a really amazing supportive partner helped her growth overall. And then that translated to her playing and competing on the world tour. Like she got asked by these great players to play because one, she's a really disciplined high level blocker. And then her ball skills are really great. So just even changing from the Wilson ball to the world tour ball is can create a gap with some people. But so she's got that ball skills and the height advantage and things like that. But I've just seen her confidence go up because she's, traveling and playing and having to go on her own and all those things that I did when I was like 25, 26, 27. She's doing younger. So it's just really, and she's come back and she's taught some of our younger kids some of the things she's learned and helped mentor them. So it's just been a huge development piece for her growth. And we want all our athletes to do it, to be honest, because, you're playing against the best teams in the world over summer. How can you not be a better college player when you get back?
Right. Well, with that, let's talk about what's happening in the NCAA this year, but there is a significant change in the tournament format. And why did you just speak to that a little bit?
Yeah. So now 16 teams and it's all single elimination. So last year we added 16 teams. However, the first round was single elimination. And then after that, it was a normal double elim tournament. So the NCAA decided to keep it 3 days and keep everything single elim. So I think that's maybe can add to a little bit more parity in our sport. If you go over the past years, there has been times when the top seeds have lost early and had to make their way through the losers bracket to win a national championship. So now that would be not the case. I mean, we probably should have lost to Cal Poly in that single elim round last year. We were down 7-3 in a third set. and came back, had like an unbelievable comeback to win it. And then that gave us momentum going on. But I just feel like the rules maybe are for the little bit of the underdogs to kind of make a name for themselves in the tournament and make it more exciting. I do like the double limb format, but I think maybe this could lead to a little bit more parity in the who wins the tournament.
Yeah. Well, the rise from the ashes is always a fun thing to watch. I'll have to admit, and you always have to pull for the underdogs. It makes it so exciting, especially when it comes to the fifth and deciding duel, third set, deuce set, deep into the third. So yeah, that element, oh gosh, just watching that in these last few years has been insane. So now let me ask you, Brooke, what changes could you see coming down the line in the next few years with the growth of collegiate beach volleyball?
Well, I hope that we can have some more scholarships, because if you look at the roster size of some of the schools, there's just a lot of young women playing beach volleyball. It was the fastest NCAA growing sport growth wise. So I think that needs to reflect in scholarships. It's been decided by the NCAA that the volunteer coach can be paid starting in July. So I think that's a huge thing, because you have 5 games going on at the same time and only 3 coaches and only 2 of them are paid. So I think, these players really are high level and they need high level attention and coaching to get to their max potential. So adding a paid assistant, I think, is huge. And then, Texas is adding. I just hope we continue. We've seen a little fall off with the amount of sports adding each year, or at schools adding beach volleyball. So I hope that comes back up and maybe you'll see a little bit more indoor facilities in the northern schools, things like that. Because what we're seeing at Florida State in particular is we work really well with our indoor coaches, but we have indoor kids that come to play indoor and beach for a top school here. So the level of athlete has grown. And so I think that should translate to scholarships, more coaches, more competition experiences. And yeah, hopefully in the end, our season expands and maybe we have regional playoffs before the teams that get awarded to go to Gulf Shores. So that's something that I've thought about and tried to push for a little bit within the NCAA, but it does take time for all this. And yeah, we're just grateful for our opportunity to be on ESPN and kind of showcase our athletes. So I hope we get to go there this year and experience the single elimination format.
Yeah. Well, let's go into your 2023 team. But before we talk about your team, I want to talk about your coaching staff. How's it like having a guy who kind of knows what he's doing, who recently retired as a professional and is your husband and father of your children on board?
Well, when you say it like that, it sounds like we're crazy. No, those people that know Nick, he's got such a good heart and he's super humble. So yes, I told him when he came in, I was like, listen, like, I want to learn from you because we've been going through this journey together as we met when we were both professional athletes. And then, I retired and he kept going. And so I was just a supportive person. We didn't really talk about volleyball that much. Like, I was there if he needed somebody to like bounce ideas off, but I really never gave my opinion. So now we've learned how to work together, but he's so humble. He's like, I've never done this before. Tell me. He's always like, am I doing everything okay? And I'm like, no, these are like, we're training our team like they're professional athletes because, we've had a lot of good coaches ourselves. And
Right.
so I think the level here is awesome. And, but it's funny to me that this 2-time Olympian is questioning himself with training, so yeah, it's
you are the higher authority when it comes to the household.
Well, I've never, the household, yes, I would say. But yeah, the way we run our program, like in theory, yes, we have a head coach and 2 assistants, but it's really like open feedback and we're all at the same level. And we're trying to just be facilitators and help our players grow as much as they can and reach their goals. So yeah, it's been really fun spending time together because the past 20 years, like he or I have been traveling 8 months out of the year. So, we bring our kids to practice sometimes and our team sees us yell at them sometimes but it's all about, a growth process and learning how to coach together. And it's been really fun because I get to coach with my best friend. So
that's awesome. Now, must make for interesting childcare when both of you have to travel.
Yeah. Yeah. We, luckily my mom moved to Tallahassee, so she's been helpful, and we have some really good help, but yeah, sometimes we do have to travel with them, which isn't ideal, but then the girls actually really like having the kids around. Sometimes it's a good break from volleyball if I'm like, hold the baby, so yeah, I think it's been fun overall.
Well, you also on your staff have got Elena Chacon as a volunteer assistant, which, I mean, if anyone is following last year, such a wonderful ending for her, and obviously a favorite of mine, Mads Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
When did she decide to come on board, and how has it affected the program so far?
Oh my gosh. So two of my all-time favorites that you just named, and they have been here. I feel like we've grown up together here because they've been here. They were part of my first recruiting class when I got this job. And yeah, Elena has had so many special moments. She's also been through a typical journey of a student athlete that just buys into everything, does all the extra work. So she was honestly, I didn't think of too many people when I needed to find a volunteer assistant. And she has this great way about her that was such a teacher on the court. Like anytime she would play at practice with somebody that was maybe like newer to the program, she was very calm and spent time with them as a captain and leader of our team, just trying to explain how everything goes in the process. And she's just a really great coach and a great person. She spent the summer learning and training with Holly McPeak. So doing some stuff with their club. And so she's really developed as a coach, and she's like a constant learner where she's always trying to improve. And plus she has really great, valuable feedback because she just did everything that these girls want to do and want to achieve. So she's been awesome. I feel like I have a dream team of coaching staff. So my goal is to keep them all healthy and happy in here as long as I can.
That sounds excellent. Now let's go out to your team with the season around the corner. So the NCAA this year has allowed for fall competition, so it gives you a better look at what you have early on. But what have you seen so far that are some really good pieces for you, and who could be contributing, key pairs, transfers, new faces, the whole thing, without dropping too much before the season starts? I know you coaches like to keep a little bit close to the hip there, but talk about your team.
Yeah, I mean, I think we are younger than we've ever been, but I think youth for us is a good thing because some of the kids that we brought in are just so experienced at the junior level, and they're winners. Like they're used to winning things, and they want to come in and compete for a starting spot. Like we have Alexis Durish, Kara Sasek, who had really great juniors careers. Plus, Maddie Anderson has like been a staple in our lineup since her freshman year. I think she's never played lower than 3 for us. And then we got a great, amazing transfer, Paige Kapkoff from FIU. And she's just one of the fastest people I've ever seen play volleyball. So her speed on the defensive side, her knowledge of the game, she was a ones player for FIU, and they're a great program. So having her play at that level and then come to our team has just been unbelievable. And then Raylan White, Caitlin Moon. I mean, Morgan Chacon ended up transferring away for indoor and transferring back. So, which was the most amazing thing. And I don't even know how it happened, but, her sister being here as a coach probably played a big role in it, if I'm being honest. And them they want to play internationally together when Morgan's done with school. But we really, if you look at our lineup, we lost Brooke Bauer, Elena Chacon, and Madison Fitzpatrick. And those are obviously really big pieces to replace. But I feel like we have the parts to replace them and let these girls, it's going to be a learning process. Like, last year my team did really well, but we had the most losses we've ever had in an entire season here. And it's not important to me. It's, are we learning from those losses? Are we growing? But yeah, we have those key pieces, I think, to hopefully stabilize our lineup. But again, everybody's so good. There's so many good coaches. So we just try to get better each and every time we're out in the sand and not really worry about wins and losses. We're just trying to develop ourselves. And hopefully in the end, we put it all together at the right time.
Well, you have a solid lineup and a large lineup as well that you can throw out there. As I was perusing your roster,
Yeah.
I saw them at juniors. They were winning. Yep, they were winning too. So And then you had some transfers come in, with Paige. And of course, there was also Jordan Polo, who transferred in for, I guess, before last season.
I didn't even mention Jordan. And she's one of those. So yeah, really, if you think about it, yeah, with Jordan too, like, because Jordan was playing with Morgan. So yeah, we only really lost one person from our ones and our twos pair, which that's obviously a huge part of our team. But I didn't even mention we have two indoor players that 163, 164, and they're 6 rotation outside hitters that have just really enjoyed learning the beach game. And so they're going to be in there at times too. And hopefully we can develop them, and just the level that they play on and the physicality is crazy. I don't know if I would have picked volleyball as my sport if there was girls that physical when I played, but yeah, so a lot of pieces. And I think this year you're going to see some different lineups from us, just because we got to figure out who's going to be able to handle the big moments the best.
Well, in the CCSA, it just seems like you need the physicality, the height to do something like that. I mean, you look at what Russ is doing at LSU, you got Hector at TCU, and then now you add in Grand Canyon to the mix for the CCSA. So what are your thoughts on what could be happening here in the conference?
Yeah, I really think top to bottom, like, our conference is so like strong, and all those teams you mentioned, TCU, I mean, Hector's done an amazing job there. Russell always has really competitive teams that just seem to peak at the right time. And then Kristen has done an amazing job with Grand Canyon. And that'll be interesting to have them in the conference, because they're kind of a different, like, they play differently than the LSUs. Like, they're really scrappy and maybe a little smaller and maybe a little unorthodox. So it's always such a tough team to play. And then South Carolina, I think, got some really good transfers. I hope I'm not missing anybody, but yeah, our conference has changed a lot. I think 3 years ago we had 14 teams. Yeah. Now we have 6, but like, top to bottom, they're all really good. So our conference tournament this year is just going to be so challenging. And but I'm excited, because I believe that the more you play tougher competition, the more battle tested you are. And there's that saying, like, iron sharpens iron. So for me, this is like an amazing dream conference to be a part of, because it's so challenging. And when we play against our conference opponents, we're going to have to really work hard and try to focus on, like, our side of the net and getting better as a team to be successful.
Yep. So rounding out the conference for our listeners and viewers are Missouri State and Texas. That was it. Missouri State. We mentioned the other one. So, but you lose one due to departure to Conference USA, and that's Tulane. But I mean, still, it's if they're a head-to-head conference play, that is one grinder of a conference. So, and they'll be playing across the nation, winning in all the 8 other conferences that exist now.
It's crazy, but it's so exciting the way our sport's grown. And yeah, I know with the AQs, I'm like, oh man, sometimes I think about, what are we doing to ourselves with putting all these good teams in one conference? Because I think any of those teams, if they were in a different conference, they would be in competition for the top spot too. And we're all in one, but yeah, hopefully it just makes us better overall. I know as a conference, like, we want our conference to win a national championship. It's been to the West Coast so far. And so that's kind of a overall goal as us as coaches, is we're kind of rooting for each other too.
Wow. That's actually a great segue to my next question, but, and you kind of alluded to it in your previous response, but what teams in the CCSA are preseason favorites? That's a tough one to answer, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I think you got to give it to TCU. They have I think we're obviously always in the conversation, LSU. But yeah, TCU has a really strong core returning. They got a transfer from our school who is one of our best players, Kate Privet. So I think, they're going to be pretty dangerous. And LSU, I actually don't know what they're going to look like. I just know they're going to be good. So I think, they're always there. And then Grand Canyon as well, because we didn't play against any of those teams in the fall, which is kind of interesting. We played against other conferences because of the location. So normally we play against each other in the fall, and we can kind of get a good gauge of at least individual players, whether the teams will be different. But I didn't get to see any of the teams in our conference in the fall. So I'm kind of excited to see. But yeah, all those teams, like you said, even if you just go over the end of the year rankings last year, it's a pretty strong top to bottom.
Yeah. Now, how about for the fan that's following the CCSA? Who would you recommend they keep an eye on athlete-wise on each of the teams, and the top performers that could potentially be making some noise this year?
I mean, Maddie Anderson, I think, on our squad. Paige Kafkoff, like I said, transfer from FIU. Top players: Morgan, Raylan White, Caitlin Moon, Jordan Polo. And that's just on our team. And I feel like I'm naming all our starters, but, and then
every
LSU,
coach is taking notes right now.
Yeah, I know. Actually, LSU, Kylie DeBerg, I saw her out all summer in California training with Jose Loyola and playing in as much as she could. And so I think she's been another player with the physicality that's been from indoor now transitioning to beach. And so she's probably one that's going to get better and better. And their team won the pairs championship. So I think that's definitely a team to watch. At TCU, I don't know what his pairs are going to be, but he has a lot of the 2 Spanish girls that play at the ones. I mean, they're trying to qualify for the Olympics. I know that. So that's always a team that's really fun to play and a challenge. So I think they're definitely a team to watch. But yeah, I'm trying to think of other individual players. You kind of stumped me, but I just looked at team.
Those are on the top of your head, but that's still great advice for anyone following the game.
Well, I don't want to miss out on anybody. There's so many good players, and I don't want anybody to be like, man, she didn't mention me, and then that'll like fire them up next time they play. So I'm just going to name everybody on every school. Just watch out.
Well, in all honesty, if you look through the rosters of the CCSA teams, you can find so much talent, and literally in the 1s through 5s, and they're interchangeable. It seems like, because even from last year, seeing where people play in the fall, you can see the coaches shuffling the deck, so to speak, and they were still successful. So yeah, it's kind of one of those, well, who's on the top of your head type of deal. So that's why I caught you off guard there.
Yeah.
Now, this could be another one that you feel like you get in trouble in, but who are some of the top teams outside of your conference that fans should be paying attention to?
Yeah, I mean, I think UCLA right now, they have great coaches, and they were really young last year. And so I think they're going to be one of the top teams. They always have been. And their program just develops really nice players. Plus he got some good transfers. So I think actually he's going to have a tough time picking a starting lineup, which we're all kind of in the same boat. USC has always been there, so you got to give it to them. And I think Grand Canyon's really good. I think Derek Olson at Washington, we played them twice this year. And I just think he's one that I think people are going to have to look out for, because he's a really great coach. And I think him being in charge of his program and recruiting the players he wants to recruit, like, it's just going to be, I think they're going to be good. And then I always have my eyes out for Todd at Cal Poly. He's a good friend, and I know his skill set, and I think, yeah, he's always going to be in the conversation as well. But those are kind of the big ones. And then, like I mentioned, the CCSA probably has like 3 or 4 teams that are going to make a run for the championship and be really good at the end. So trying to see if I left anybody out.
It's a good answer. It definitely touches on a lot of what everyone's expecting.
Who else? Another great coach with a great program, Beth Van Fleet at Georgia State. She's done an amazing job, and her teams are super scrappy and really hard to play. And they had an amazing run last year, beating some teams that were ranked ahead of them at Gulf Shores. And so I think they're one of those teams I don't like go to sleep on, ever when we play them. So, and they used to be in our conference, and they're not anymore. And then actually FIU as well. Rita's done an amazing job. In the fall, we did play them, and they had some really great players, some international players that were very experienced, tough serving team. And she's ultra competitive, Rita is. And so, like myself, so I appreciate those people, but yeah, her team's going to be one to watch this year as well.
Well, just in the Florida area or the region, you've got so many good schools that if you wanted to, get a beat down or give a beating,
yeah,
there are so many good schools.
And it's interesting because some of the schools don't have the budget to travel, but like FAU is always really good. They had a great NCAA run. FGCU with Chris Sweat, that's a team that I don't think they leave Florida most of the time to play, but I think if they played some West Coast teams, like they're always a sneaky team that has great players. They develop players really well. So yeah, there's a lot of teams in the state that are like, you just can't think you're having a weekend off or not going to get competition when you play these teams. Stetson, sorry, I didn't mention Stetson. Gosh, all my all my women coaches, they're really good, and they've actually been a team to upset a lot of top seeds in the tournament if you look at their tournament playing history. So yeah, we played them quite a bit in the fall, and they had some really great players.
Excellent. Now, with the this is the bigger part of the question, but we looked at individual top performers or fans to look out for player wise. So let's go outside of the CCSA. Who is Brooke Niles looking at here as far as like top performers and for fans to watch?
Well, I think Lexi Denenberg, she's just loves competing and plays hard all the time. So obviously she's the ones. Abby Van Winkle was her partner last year, but that might change. But I think she's a really great player and has really gotten better as the years goes on and more consistent. Trying to think, USC is returning. Megan Kraft. Mm-hmm. I would think she has to be at the ones now. She's trying to qualify for the Olympics too. So I'm curious to see if that conflicts with some of the college tournaments because, maybe that's a team that might have a couple losses there in the middle of the season if they don't have all their players there, if they're playing internationally. But then by the end of the year, they're going to be at NCAA's in their conference tournament. Stanford actually has some good players. Charlie Ekstrom, I can't believe she's still in college. I thought she'd be done now too. But she's got it. Like all these girls just have deadly like service pressure. And so that's always a player that we look out for. We don't play them too much usually. So we would probably only see them in NCAA. So we don't have a lot of it. I think this past year was the only time we've ever played Stanford. So, but man, there's just so many good players that I think a fan watching is going to see a competitive match. Whereas it used to be so dominant, the top five teams in the country were just that much better than everybody else. But now I feel like there's 15 to 20 good programs with good players that can help. And then the coaches, so the coaches lineup can change. I mean, you can move players. You may have your best player, maybe not playing with your other best player. So they could be not a ones, but a three, maybe a four. Because that's what's best for your team. So I think all the matches are going to be really competitive. There's some really great tournaments. The East versus West is going to be a really great tournament. We go to a tournament in Cal Poly that's going to be equally as good 2 weeks later. So we host the first weekend and we bring out Cal Poly in Washington, as well as South Carolina and FIU. So yeah, I think each weekend, if you're a fan, you want to get on that College of Beach VB website and watch the updates and see who wins, because it's kind of fun to follow those teams and even how the coaches move their players up and down.
Gosh, we must be on the same wavelength here, because I was excited to say, well, Brooke, get to see you twice in California. Now, one's a little farther north with Todd's, but you're going to be at Manhattan Beach and take on USC, UCLA, LMU, and Hawaii, I forgot that was on day one.
Yeah.
So four
Hawaii.
solid
How do
duels.
I not talk about Hawaii? Hawaii, and we play Hawaii every year in the NCAA tournament, and it always comes down to the fifth court, third game. Like it's just a battle. So, man, I'm going to get in trouble with this interview. I'm going to get texted like, why didn't you?
I'm sure everyone likes you so much. You're going to she said that. Oh, she's good.
I'm feeling the fire. But no, yeah, Hawaii, yeah, that tournament's going to be insane. We didn't go last year. Budgetary wise, we just had some issues there, but they let us back in. Thank you, Steinmetzger. And we're excited because it is really great competition, and all those teams play so hard. And again, we don't get to play them every weekend. So they kind of battle against each other a lot during the season, but we just have these 1 or 2 weekends where we really can kind of see how we stack up.
Yeah. Well, then later on, right before the CCSA championships, you head out to Todd's facility for the, I thought the Center of Effort Challenge. It was an interesting format. I mean, he shared with me that it's a 2-pool format with 2 top teams out of certain conferences, and basically it's gonna be a grind the entire time. So,
Yeah.
2 trips out, and all those same teams. Well, some of the same teams you'll be seeing in the East versus West. So there's gonna be battles for sure.
Yeah. And that one, we would play an East Coast team too. So that one was a great turning point for our season last year, because we went out there and we got crushed pretty much. And our players they got sick, and it was just like this trip that we were like, man, I don't know, but I think it fired us up a little bit. Cause sometimes you can just have success in your own zone and you don't know how you stack up against somebody else. So it really ended up motivating our team to just do some of the little things and, light a fire. We lost to LMU, and then we, ended up playing them twice at NCAA. So it was something like we just didn't want that feeling again that we had leaving that tournament, but it was never an easy game. The courts is deep sand. Like, there's so many things I love about it. We have to travel really far. It's just really like a gut check of a tournament. And so we're excited. It is before conference.
Mm-hmm.
So those 3 weeks don't get easy for us, because we have that tournament, the conference tournament, and then a little bit of a break before NCAA's, but it's just like boom, boom, boom. Like, now it's go time. So it's a great tournament for us. We're lucky we get invited to that one too.
Yeah. I didn't think about the travel aspect of it, because you fly into LAX and still have to drive 4 hours to Cal Poly, unless you fly into a private regional airport up there.
Yeah. Last year I thought this was the greatest idea to fly into Santa Barbara, because that's where I went to school, and I was going to show the girls the campus and everything. And then flight got delay after delay. We get in late. We're driving in the dark. Like, it was just nothing like I planned, but it's a good life lesson, right? So this year we're not doing that. We're going to fly directly into San Luis Obispo and have just business trip. Nothing fun. But
sounds great.
Yeah.
Well, you actually, another great segue, when we were talking before going on, you'd mentioned a particular training group that you had when you were still playing, but I'd love you to share that story, because I think our viewers and listeners would love to hear who you actually got to rub shoulders with.
Yeah. So Todd and I go way back. When I was a player at Santa Barbara, he was coaching the men's team and training for AVP. And then when I graduated, I started coaching there as well and trying to play. And I don't think I told you this part. I had asked a women's player that I really looked up to if I could just train with them. And she said no. And so I was like, well, what other player do I want to be like? And obviously there's no one better than Todd if you're a defender. And so I asked him, and he said, absolutely. Like, you can come to my workouts with my trainer, but we do these gnarly track workouts and these crazy beach workouts. And I was like, I'm in. And it happened to be me, Todd, Phil, and Nick. And I was just like, don't embarrass yourself in front of this group. And so I was having to keep up with these guys. Nick would lap me on the track. I would beat Phil a couple times, because at the beginning, Phil would always throw up at the first workout. And so while he was throwing up, I would kind of pass him on some of the runs. But Nick would go really slow and then really speed up and lap me and just try to embarrass me. So that was interesting that we're married now. But Todd was so giving with his time, and was really helped me learn the game and how to take care of yourself as an athlete to be successful. So it was really fun. But we go way back. He's my friendship with him means more than winning and losing, because he's such a great person. So
that's so excellent to hear. I just thought it was so good, being that we have our connections to the indoor game. And I saw Todd playing back in his indoor days, and realized, oh, well, you guys probably cross paths in Santa Barbara. It's not like it's a huge town, but it's just great seeing the connections in the volleyball world, even smaller in the collegiate beach and indoor world. So, but hey, Brooke and Niles of Florida State, I really appreciate your time this morning and for sharing what could be coming up in our 2023 season. Looking forward to seeing you at least one of the 2 California trips the Noles make out here.
Yeah, we can't wait. Thank you so much. And go Noles, and good luck to everybody starting their seasons. It'll be fun.
Thanks for listening to College Volleyball Weekly. Be sure to follow Rob Aspero at the Rob on the Mic on Instagram and at Rob on the Mic on Twitter.